civilization can only revive when there shall come into being in a number of individuals a new tone of mind, independent of the prevalent one among the crowds, and in opposition to it, a tone of mind which will gradually win influence over the collective one, and in the end determine its character. Only an ethical movement can rescue us from barbarism, and the ethical comes into existence only in individuals. That was said by Albert Schweitzer. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maxwell Igan. Welcome to Surviving the Matrix. Well, we've got an interesting show for you today. There's certainly been a lot going on in the world in the last week. We've got the military poised to help FEMA battle an H1N1 flu outbreak. And the US Commander for the Northern Command asked the Military Defense Secretary to actually sign an executive order for the military to set up 5 regional teams to deal with the outbreak. Orders to deploy actual forces were reviewed on July 29th, I believe, and the Pentagon is apparently preparing to help the Federal Emergency Management Agency tackle a potential outbreak of the H1N1 virus this fall. Now, this is looking a lot like they're going to bring in some sort of mandatory vaccination. So it's very important that you get on board and get on with the legal issues involving this H1N1 swine flu outbreak, folks. As I was talking about last week on the show with Joan Burgermeister, there is legal action that has been taken against the WHO, Baxter Labs and the United Nations, and it's important for people to start doing that on a grassroots level as well in all of your societies, in all countries. What we need to do, folks, we need to get a groundswell of opposition happening to this mandatory vaccination. What you need to do is you need to get some flyers, and you need to start sending these off to people as well as handing them out to people on the street. There is a movement started called Facts to Stop the Vax, which has been put together by a YouTube lady. She also has a website called Healing Praxis, I think. You'll find a link to that on my website, thecrowhouse.com. If you go to the swine flu action page, that page is being updated all the time. You'll find a link there to the Facts to Stop the Vax movement. Now, this can also be done. It doesn't have to be faxes, folks. If you're worried about the loss of anonymity in sending a fax, you could just mail it. Just get the print up the leaflets, put them in a mailbox, and send them off to your local army station, to your local police station. Send them off to just address them to administration, to the front desk administration at your local army headquarters. That way, the private or the sergeant or the secretary gets to see the message, and they can decide who it goes to. But the most important thing about it is that it gets to the little people on the desk at the front. I would also suggest writing to soldiers, write to people serving in Iraq, people serving in Afghanistan, and just let them know about the situation at home, what's going on at home. Let them know that they're talking about bringing in mandatory vaccinations. Let them know that it's from a company who is currently facing legal charges for releasing contaminated vaccine. Let them know what's going on. Let them know what this swine flu is actually all about. Because what it's all about, folks, is depopulation. It's very important that people start getting onto this. Now, the military wants to establish regional teams of military personnel to assist civil authorities in the event of a significant outbreak this fall, apparently. This is according to the Defense Department. The proposal is awaiting final approval from Defense Secretary Robert Gates. Now, one of the reasons Barack Obama was allowed to win the presidency, folks, is so that he could put a friendly face on the military dictatorship that is virtually on the doorstep of the Western world. Obama has done nothing for the left, those who worked so tirelessly for him so that he could implement the change that he said he was going to bring. Obama has, in fact, out-Bushed George Bush, and he's out-Cheneyed Dick Cheney. I mean, Bush and Cheney could only dream of what Obama is poised to do in the first year of his office. You know, a full-blown police state is on the doorstep, folks. This created flu pandemic is just what's needed, and it's exactly when they need it. This is so orchestrated, folks. It's so orchestrated. The level exercise also commenced this month. The level exercise, folks, the national level exercise that I talked about a couple of months ago, this encompasses all levels of intelligence gathering between 5 countries, between the United States of America, between Canada, England, Australia and Mexico. What it is doing, folks, is combining the security forces of all these nations. Basically, the big control grid that they've spent the last 30 or 40 years setting up so they can really lock down the Western world. Basically, what this level exercise is about is to test it out. You know, they've got the control grid in place. What they've done this month is they've basically flicked the switch and turned it on. And they're just running through the preliminaries to make sure that it's all going to work properly. And they're going to use this to enforce this mandatory vaccination rubbish that they're trying to bring into everybody. So this is why you've got to go and you've got to get information out to people, and you've got to get these charges. As soon as these charges are posted, I'm waiting for Jane Burgermeister to translate them for me at the moment. I should have them hopefully by the end of the weekend, and they will be posted on the Crow House. They'll be posted on other places as well. You need to get these charges. You need to go into your military, and you need to give them to the military stations, fax them off or mail them off. You need to go to your police stations with them, and you need to press charges against WHO, against the United Nations, and against Baxter Labs, and against whatever company might be distributing the Baxter-made vaccine in your country. Like in Australia, for example, the company is CSL. They are the ones who are distributing the vaccine, but the vaccine does come from Baxter. So it's important to get this legal action happening in your country, because once legal action has started, it's going to be very, very difficult for the governments to try and enforce a mandatory vaccination when the vaccination actually comes from a company that is currently facing legal charges for releasing contaminated vaccine. There's a certain moral obligation here. You need to get the message out to your police stations. Remind the sheriffs that the sheriffs actually have jurisdiction over Homeland Security. The local sheriffs actually hold jurisdiction over any federal police that come to the area. They need to be aware of that. They need to understand the power that they've got. And they need to understand that their first duty is as peace officers. They are there to keep the peace, and they are there to protect the public. It's very important that people wake up and start doing this. So it's up to us, folks. The battle is on. The battle is right on right now. We've got to get out on the front line, and we've got to get information to as many people as quickly as possible. I've opened a new board on the Crow House forums, actually. You can go there. It's the Community Action Board. And we're going to use this board to coordinate some community action against this mandatory vaccination that seems to be looming at our doorsteps. So that's a place you can go to help coordinate things in your area. You can go and have a look and see what we're doing. You can find like-minded people, and you can coordinate them for your area, and we can coordinate all of our countries together. We need to get this global, folks. I'm putting out a huge request to people. Anyone who wants to help, if you would care to donate, it would be very much appreciated. I want to be able to put ads in national newspapers. If we get enough money, we can do this globally. We can put ads in national newspapers. We can get all the concerned citizens to launch an action all on the same day. This is what I would like to see happen. So we're on the front line, folks. It's time to step up to the plate. This is the big one. So that seems to be where it stands at this stage anyway, folks. As I said, I'm still waiting to receive the English translation of the charges from Jane Burgermeister. It would be very nice to get this all on the road, and if it's all on the level, then it's a great opportunity for us to really do something positive on a legal front. There are other people who are talking about this. I've had Dr. Leonard Horowitz on the show. He's put out a number of reports on this flu vaccine and reports on the virus itself. There's no doubt that this is a man-made virus. It was definitely cooked up in the lab. The possibility of this thing coming about just by itself in the wild, especially in non-flu season, are virtually impossible. There's no way that this could have just appeared out of nowhere in the place it did at the time it did. So there's a lot of reports coming in from a lot of fronts about this. You just do the research, folks, you'll find that the information is most certainly out there on this flu. It's all out there for you to find out. You just got to go and do the searches, and you'll see that everything I'm saying here is true. Now, I wouldn't be at all surprised if a lot of this flu has a lot to do with the heavy amount of chemtrail spraying that we've seen lately. Very interesting. There was a couple of aircraft that were operated by United States Air Force and based at Diego Garcia Air Base that were actually grounded in Nigeria. I think one was grounded in Nigeria and the other was grounded in India.